Hey folks, welcome to the Auman Landscape YouTube channel, coming to you from HQ. How about that? Place is coming along. This whole mess is gonna be cleaned up in like 3 days now, or 4, 5, somewhere in there. We got our first in-person training class December 13th, so we got a lot to do, but it'll be ready, it'll be going. We had a project here recently on the books, deposit made, the whole bit, and it ultimately came down to a client wanting their money back. Who, like, holy cow, right? Like, what a bad thing. And so here's the deal, folks. It was, first off, it was a referral. Oh my gosh, from a local contractor, actually. And I was working through this, and it was an elderly couple in a little neighborhood. Nice folks, nice little house, great situation, a referral. Highly recommended. We're the people you want to talk to about retaining wall construction. So we talked to them a little more. It's not a retaining wall. We find out it's more of a little garden wall, right? Just a little 2 or 3 high stack of, actually it's a little bit taller now, like 18 inches, 24 inches of, in this case, we're gonna use a Brussels dimensional paver or block, grief, Caleb, with a capstone of some kind. Actually, no, we opted out of a capstone because of cost. And so we talked our way through it. It was an elderly couple, nice folks, but right out the gate, they were very needy. When I say needy, they needed a lot of hand-holding, which is fine, that's okay. But it was a little project. It was like I ballparked them $3,500 to $5,000 for this little retaining wall, just itty bitty. And I knew right out the gate, I'm like, oh man, these folks have called. It's one of those things, the first day the guy called 3 times. Didn't miss his phone call the first time, called us again, wrote us an email, all that. That was a red flag right out the gate, right? Very, very needy. And it's one of those things, like, God bless them, I'll be one of those old guys too, I'm sure sometime, but they didn't have, this was like the thing at the moment they're working on. This was a big deal. And so right out the gate, there were some warning signs of like, why they were nice and amicable and actually like great folks. It ended up going kind of, and we've all had clients like this over the years and situations like this over the years. And it ended up being one of those things where it's like, we know this is going to be a lot of hand holding in this process, this project. And so I put a premium dollar on it because our crew wouldn't be there that long. It really literally would take us a day and a half to do this thing, maybe at the most. Probably could smoke it in a day, really. But I knew there was a lot of hand holding, and it got to the point where we had a lot of other big projects going on. And this was one of those where, like, I knew in the back of my mind, we probably should just pass on this job because I don't have time for all the back and forth. I mean, the amount of back and forth we had in this with color selection, product selection, all that stuff. It's funny, the little jobs will take as much time in logistics as this job. Literally, I had as much logistics in this thing as we do, and I'm saying office logistics, as we do in a 10 or 20 or 30 or $40,000 job. It's crazy, but that's the deal. You know, we got to go through all the material selection and colors, and then they're back and forth. And they made a trip up to a supplier to look at some stuff. Then we had some stuff delivered. It was terrible, and I knew out the gate this was a bad situation. But again, all while these folks are nice, they're great. That was awesome. But it was just they needed a lot of customer care. And my biggest mistake this whole situation wasn't just rejecting the job outright, because these signs were there, right? And my conscience, or my intuition's been wrong before, right? We did a patio years ago that I thought, man, this is gonna be a problem. This client is gonna be a problem. And I was wrong. It went great. I was totally wrong. It was just stern during negotiations of how we get the project completed and stuff. And I was totally wrong. Client's awesome, still to this day awesome. Really like those folks. My intuition was totally wrong. But in this case, it got to a point where it was like, okay, I told them, hey, they needed me to come look at something again. And like, okay, I'll get down there in a couple days. I'll stop down and take a look at it. Well, those couple days went by. Hey, Caleb, just seeing where you're at, just seeing when you get down here and take a look at this last little item. Oh yeah, shoot. I will do everything I can to get there this afternoon. So mistake number 1 is I didn't just set an appointment. Things were crazy with the shop build. Things were crazy with just everything in general. And unfortunately, I didn't give it the time it deserved to lock the project in. And it eventually got to the point after I missed that essentially second, it wasn't a scheduled meeting. It's like, hey, I'll drop down this afternoon if I can. I'll do everything I can to get down there this afternoon. Well, I didn't. And at that point, they had enough because I'd already done that a second time. And by the way, this is full admission of me just screwing this up. This happens once or twice a year, in full honesty. And by the way, anybody else in their companies that say they don't do this or have this issue will lie to you about other things too, by the way. I'm just being open about it because I want to hopefully help teach some lessons here, right? So I just straight up screwed up. And so it got to the point where they shot me an email and a phone call, and it just said, Caleb, I think we're gonna part ways here. We know you can do the job well. We're just not gonna move forward. And we'd like our deposit money back. And I said, I totally understand. I don't blame you a bit. For whatever it's worth, I'd be happy to set a time and actually come meet with you so we can iron this out, just as a parting olive branch, right? They said, no, Caleb, I appreciate that, but we're done here. Which I can admire that end of things, like putting your foot down and being done. I admire that too. And so we refunded their money to them, which actually turned out to be another debacle because they paid online, and then we tried to refund it online, and we had an issue with that. Unfortunately, they were super patient and cool with that. Like I said, it's just one of those cases of like, just all the wrong stars aligned, I guess, if that makes any sense. Because I straight up, like, I own all our mistakes. That's on me. I just straight up screwed up. And we did something we have not had to do in I don't know how long. I frankly don't know the last time we had to do this, is refund a deposit on a job. And they're like, hey, we don't see it posting. We don't see it posting in our account. I'm like, I'll write you a check. I'll get you a check. I'll just mail you a check right now. And I did. And then they texted me and they got it, said thank you. I said thank you again. I apologize for all the inconvenience and runaround. And that was it. So what's the takeaway? Don't take on things you don't have time for. Because this is one of those little jobs I was like, this would be a good little filler in between, one or two big projects, whatever. But it was the amount of customer care that was needed. And there's an inverse to that too, right? There's an inverse of like, they require so little hand holding that not a lot of details are hashed out. And then the project commences and like, oh, we didn't realize the block was gonna look like that. Or, oh, and on the contractor end, that's on you to make sure they understand all the items, right? And elements. You're not gonna see everything all the time. But it's funny, these little jobs sometimes will end up being a bigger hassle because to some clients, that is a big project to them. And so it requires a lot of their attention, or all their attention, because it's a big project to them. And in other clients we have where that's like, we do 3 or 4 projects like that for them a year, and they don't think anything of it, right? And they're just like, yeah, do this, do that. Cool, awesome, thank you, we'll take care of that, you bet. So as you go through your contracting career and wherever you're at in it, I find myself forgetting the principles and basics sometimes of things I've learned already in the past. I forget stuff I've learned, right? With that being said, just give your clients the service and attention they deserve, and if you can't provide that, bow out gracefully, right? And I did it on a hydro seeding job years and years ago. It's a job I should not have been involved in at all, and it was far away. And I got about halfway through the whole bid process, and I knew in my gut that we should not be messing with this. We rarely do grading and seeding and all this. Was years ago. We should not be messing with this. And I called the guy back and I said, I am so sorry to do this, and I rarely do this, but I've got to bow out of this project. This is out of our normal scope of work. I know we could do a great job for you. I know we could handle it. It's just too out of our normal mix of work. And I bowed out of that job, and we didn't have any money down yet or anything, but I knew that job was not a good fit, and I knew in my gut we should not be doing it. And the way we look at things is like, especially on taking on new work, if I'm not excited to be up and stay up late that night or soon to do that job or to do that estimate, to perform that quote, then we shouldn't be doing a job. If that quote keeps getting backburnered and I'm not excited, like I get really excited to do French drain quotes. I get really excited to do hardscape quotes. I don't get real excited to do very tedious landscape remodel quotes or things like that. And so I should know that we shouldn't take them on. So we should only go after the stuff where it's like, heck yeah, we'll do that. You know what I mean? So try to keep that in mind in your future business mix going forward of, it's a heck yes or a heck no. No in between, right? And that was a great thing I learned on the Tim Ferriss podcast was, a guest, I can't remember who it was, but it was like they used a different word, but it was a heck yeah, or it was no. It was just no, I won't do it. I won't take on any extra stuff. So with that being said, I'll show you right now, I'll show you real quick. I want to show you just real quick the type of block and the type of installation on a little garden wall. We're gonna put out a YouTube video here coming soon, and a training course on like how to build just basic little garden walls. Because it's not as complicated, it doesn't need to be as difficult as maybe, see right up my nose, people think. But we're gonna utilize these Brussels dimensional block here, right? And I'll show you how we do the base and all that kind of stuff. And these little walls can be really simple. Sometimes even if it's only like 2 or 3 courses high of this kind of stuff, you literally can get this number 9 stone. Man, that was a mistake, fellas. For some reason, we took this contaminated crap and dumped it in our 9 pile. Like, that's from scooping it up constantly. We really need concrete in the bottom here. But anyways, that needs scraped out. We'll have to have that in a company meeting. But yeah, this is from when you store all this stuff on gravel like this, it's going to get churned up as you consolidate the pile. So we got to be careful. I got to get this out of here before our delivery guy actually puts another load of 9s on top of this. But anyways, you literally can put those walls on about 4 inches at the most, or 3 inches, 2 to 3 inches, let's say, of just a number 9 stone, like just a basic little garden wall. Make sure your subsoils are compacted. Does not need to be complicated. You get over like 8 inches tall of a wall, you probably need to go a little more in depth with your garden walls. And you know what I'm talking about, the little ones that go around like tree planters or whatever, which when you do that, you don't want to pile dirt up against the trees, whatever. But the great stuff about that is you literally can get in here and get that stuff leveled out so nice and easy, and literally slam that block in there and get it worked nice and level. Now I still would recommend you screed out and you get it nice and level, but this block's gonna sit real good. You still want to bury a course. You want to bury bury 1 course below grade. So when you bring your dirt back, that whole first course is buried. That's gonna allow this thing to sit really stable. If you do all this clean stone, you also want to make sure that that trench that you dig for that isn't a drain line, because essentially it's a French drain trench. You want to make sure that's not going straight to your like foundation or something, or it's not running water right to your foundation. So okay folks, so with that being said, like and subscribe, all that garbage. Check out Kid Contractor Podcast, Hardscape Academy, all that. Here we go from Auman HQ. We're out of here. When you're setting these in, the click and drop method is, we just want to get it in there, click and drop, and we just keep going.